Kenny, good morning. Thank you for joining me here online. You wanted to share what doing my program was like for you and what benefits you got.
Yes.
So I might get you started by just sharing a little bit about what was going on for you before you contacted me, what the symptoms were, and how that was affecting your life.
Yeah, I've been dealing with symptoms of anxiety for many, many years. Um, some years I ignored it, some years I didn't. Some years became unignorable. Make my life as simple as possible because I knew that if I didn't, the anxiety would grow. I remained in jobs, that I wasn't, that I was kind of overqualified for, that I knew I could do easily. I stayed out of kind of like intimate relationships, that sort of thing. It was really, really marring my enjoyment of life.
Yeah,
Um, it was really marring my ability to kind of be competent at a lot of things. It was marring my work. It was kind of like it had me working at about 80% of my actual ability, and that was kind of having a spiraling effect because when you're not, when you don't feel like your work is good enough, well then that also triggers further anxiety.
absolutely.
Um, and so that was
So
that, that,
there
that
were
was
a lot of effects on your life all around, right?
yeah, absolutely. And even regard to my family, even though I have a great relationship with my wife and I get on really well with my children and all of that, I just never felt like I was fully there with them. If that makes sense, I felt like I was
Absolutely.
being kind of a mechanical husband, mechanical dad a lot of the time.
Yeah, for sure. So, and that's when you contacted me, but you might just fill viewers in on what else you tried
Yeah,
before you came to me.
yeah. I mean, this was going on for quite a few years before I came to you. Um, I was seeing somebody, like a counselor, and I was, talking to her on like a weekly basis, then bi-weekly, and then kind of monthly. And that worked for a while. But yeah, I felt like after a while with her, and she was great, that I was just kind of talking for the sake of talking. I was just repeating myself an awful lot.
Yeah.
We were kind of going around in circles, and we weren't really getting anywhere. And the first, say 5, 6 sessions were great, but after that it just kind of petered out, and I wasn't really getting anything out of it. And
That is something that can happen with talk therapy because you're not working with the traumatic base. You're not working with what's actually behind the symptoms. So that experience makes
yeah,
perfect sense, unfortunately.
I
So
think
tell me
I think
where are you now with your symptoms after doing these 5 sessions with me? How have
yeah,
they developed?
I, I've really, it's been like night and day. I feel an awful lot lighter. I feel brighter. Yeah, and like you were saying there, the things that I thought were causing my anxiety weren't the things that were causing my anxiety. And that's where the talk therapy it lacks a bit. I think is that they try to identify things in your life that might be causing certain anxieties, but it's not those things. Those things are just triggers. These things might trigger it, but
Yeah.
dealing with those things means that the root cause is still there.
Yeah.
And
So where are you now with your root causes?
yeah, the things that were I mean there was one or two elements. There was things that were causing me anxiety, things that maybe happened when I was younger. Or experiences I had when I was younger that I thought as a 47-year-old man that I had easily done with and easily dealt with, and I kind of maybe I thought they were maybe still lingering a little bit, but they weren't enough to cause any kind of major anxiety or anything like that. And there was also angers and resentments that I had that I have managed to let go of. That I kind of knew I was kind of a bit pissed off with people, but not kind of not to the extent that I actually was, uh,
Sure.
and not to the extent that it was actually affecting my day to day.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing. The brain works very hard to preserve the status quo. So
Yeah,
it can be very much in denial about what's actually behind it. And until you look, you're not likely to find it until you specifically go looking for it, which you did.
Yeah.
So
I
you
think
were saying, you were sharing with me before we started recording this conversation, you were sharing that your scores on symptom intensity are way down now.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, the scores were actually quite high
At the start.
when I filled out the scorecard first.
Yeah.
I was surprised to myself, kind of going like, yeah, no, I actually am this anxious.
Mm.
And I think there's maybe it's true of men more so than women, but there's definitely an ego element to not wanting to admit that certain things are making you anxious, or that certain things that happened 40 years ago,
Mm.
or experiences you had with people 40 years ago could still be bothering you now. You still think you think like, oh no, I dealt with that ages ago. I've moved on. I'm this age now, and like and that these are just silly things when you're a kid. But it's 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 actually much more involved and much more complicated than that.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you for saying that. I think that really helps to kind of strengthen the concept where I'm coming from, which is the reparenting idea, right? That we deal with the inner child and we
yeah,
um, remove the root causes and then use the inner child as a resource to.
absolutely. And it's been to be able to connect back with myself as a 6-year-old, as an 8-year-old, as a 14-year-old, as a 16-year-old, and to be able to continue to do that has been one of the most remarkable things about this process. Has been one of the most helpful,
Yeah,
and just to be able to sit and just sit and hang out with that person
yeah.
comfortably. Um,
Wonderful. So share with us what are things like now, mostly in work, that was a major area of tension that brought you in.
Yeah, yeah. While my work was adequate before, I've never felt like adequate is good enough, for me anyway. And I knew what my ability was, and I knew what my actual production was, and there was a chasm between what I should be doing and what I was doing, um, and that was I said to you, like, some days I feel like I go into work and I'm like cycling a bicycle and somebody's holding onto the saddle behind me, or I'm like just walking up a hill with wind in my face, and I just can't seem to kind of get a job boxed off, or I can't seem to kind of just kind of focus myself for long enough. So that has changed dramatically. My I feel so much easier about kind of like I feel so much easier about everything I'm doing in my job,
That's
and
wonderful.
I'm much more excited about those things now. I'm excited to take them on. I'm excited for challenges that I wasn't excited for before, and so
Wonderful.
yeah, that's been really really wonderful.
And so the big question at the end of this, would you recommend this program to people?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Like I said to you, I had been trying various things, talk therapy. I've been trying exercise, which I continue to exercise, but working at filling your body with lactic acid, for a very intense workout, and then just sitting there and enjoying the endorphins that come later, is great, but it's not really solving the problem. So talk therapy wasn't really solving it, and what I've gotten from this process is an actual change, rather than maintaining a status quo,
Yes,
or dealing with kind of like just kind of working around the problem, or
yes,
maintaining it. What I've gotten from this process has been an actual watershed change in
yes,
in in the way my brain is looking at the world, and and to get like a change, a permanent change like that is I mean it's just it's wonderful. It's been a complete revelation.